You heard about the story of Kuzu in my house. Does anybody else know about Kuzu? Chaf, Vav, Zayin, Vav, Kuzu. Every one of you has Kuzu written all over your house. Kuzu is written on the back side of the mezuzah. If you look at every mezuzah, on the reverse of the side of the mezuzah, it's written Kuzu. And if you look at the cloth, you'll see where it's written. It's written on the other side of where the Yud, Hey, and Vav Hey is written, where God's name is written. It's written on the other side, upside down, but in the exact same spot. It says Kuzu. Every time it says Shem Hashem, it has Kuzu. What is Kuzu? Kuzu is God in motion. Yud Kei Vav Kei Haya Hoveh V'yeh. The name of God is a verb, not a noun. Is, was, will be. We should. God is a terrible word. I don't like using that word. We say Hashem in Hebrew, the name. But to say God is like a Zeus kind of animal, long bearded guy who zaps you when you're naughty or something like that. That's such an un-Jewish idea. God is a verb. Okay, Haya, Hoveh, V'yeh. Past, is, was, will be is what that name of God. But that's only one of the names of God. That's the most central name. That's Tiferet. Kabbalah, that's the central Svirah of Tiferet, the beauty, the integral beauty. That's that name of God. But Kuzu is the name of God in motion. It's every letter after the letter. What's the letter after Yud? Chaf. What's the letter after Hey? Vav. What's the letter after Vav? Zayin. Vav. Chaf, Vav, Zayin, Vav is one letter after each letter of the name of God. And so that it shows God in motion. And it's put upside down, so you see God from all vantage points. And in motion, not static. As a matter of fact, if you take the Kabbalistic Siddur, the Siddur Bi'ari, he not only does that, but he takes it and does it the other way, too. He has each letter before it as well as after it, and writes in the Siddur that way. Every time there's a Shem Hashem, he puts it backwards and forwards also. So you read it this way, that way. But the idea of motion, of change, of dynamic, of liveliness, instead of, in Western culture, they talk about a painter making a still life. In French, you say nature mort, dead life. The symbol of Judaism is Eitz HaChaim. The symbol of Christianity is Eitz HaMavet, cross. The same wood that's the symbol of death. And so the static, this death, this tumah, the stopping of the motion is what we talk about as being, how do you say tumah? Impurity.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's about death. It's about stopping motion. It's not stopping life. And so I did a wonderful project with my students. You can see it on the internet too. I started to put it up. I got even much better stuff after that. I didn't have time to do it. But I gave them the final project. You have to photograph God. That's what you got to do. And I got so all the students had to photograph God, and I have lots and lots of students. I taught every semester. I had 300 students at Michlel Yehuda B'Shomron in Ariel, and I teach at Emunah College here in Yerushalayim, and I have Bar Ilan. I teach hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students every semester, and so I got lots of feedback. And they all photograph God. So how do you photograph God? Anybody have any idea? Well, we have to first of all define. How do you know what is God? Okay. Well, the Torah tells us God. I mean, it says in the Divrei Yamim, it says Lecha Hashem Hagedula Hagevura Tiferet Netzach Hod V'chol B'Shamayim V'Aretz. We sing that when we take the Torah out of the Ark on Shabbat. We say Lecha Hashem Hagedula Hagevura Tiferet Netzach Hod V'chol B'Shamayim V'Aretz. It's in the Siddur. It's Tefillat Shachrit. It's in the morning prayers, but it's also when we sing it when we pick the Ark, the Torah. And here's it says, God, you are, okay, compassion, largesse, okay? Gedulah, which is chesed. Gvura, strength, tiferet, beauty, whatever these kind of words are. Netzach, hod, v'chol v'shamayim v'aretz. These are the sfirot that we read in Sfirat HaOmer. These are the 7 lowest sfirot in Kabbalah. The 3 highest sfirot, Chokhmah, Binah, V'da'at, are the definition of the artist. And all of Kabbalah is the creative process. It's a model of the creative process. And so what do the students need to do? They need to photograph Chesed and Gedulah in the everyday world. Where is Hashem? Here, every day, on your block. You know, you have to photograph Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, V'Yesod, in Malchut, in the everyday world. The Sfirah of Malchut is the everyday world. And you have to, and that's the last week of the Sfirat HaOmer, when we count the Omer before getting the Torah on the 50th day of Shavuot. And on the last week, it's those Sfirot in the Olam HaMalchut, in the Olam HaAsiyah, in the everyday world of doing, everyday world. And that's the definition. And that's what and I got some wonderful, wonderful pictures, some wonderful, hundreds and thousands of pictures I have. And they had a photograph, and they had to give them, but not only that, they couldn't give me a picture. They had to give me a series of pictures, right? Kuzu. You have to show Hashem B'Tunuah. You can't just photograph Chesed. You have to photograph the act of Chesed, of compassion in action. You have to photograph strength in action, beauty in action. You have to photograph each of these things, so you got to give me a sequence of photographs. And so I have these wonderful photographs of wonderful things, such a wide range of things, and some fun things, and wonderful things. But this is, the idea of this dynamic, actually looking for Hashem everywhere, and photographing the movement, the action, the change, the dynamic, yeah.
I was curious about how is it that you, as a halakhically observant Jew, presumably, reconcile prescribed limitations of halakha with this search for the urge for exploration and creativity and seeing things fresh. As somebody who attended a lot of modern Orthodox summer camps, for example, I found that tefillah ended up being kind of tedious for a lot of people, kids and counselors and staff alike, and there are other things. That's the first part of the question. And for example, when you go to present to the American Airlines boardroom, I'm an ignoramus when it comes to halakha, but I've heard that there are some limitations as far as, or there are debates about limitations in terms of what it is you're supposed to present to people who fall outside of the halachic system. And I'm just curious about your take on that. But also, how do halachically observant Jews, or how should they identify or relate to expressions by people working outside of the framework of halakha in terms of keeping their Jewish identity fresh?
That's a complicated question, and I think that, remember, I'm saying that the challenge is to be able to see it in a fresh way.